Hello, class, and thank you for attending my presentation on the analysis of white collar through the lens of interpersonal communication. As you will see in my report regarding this matter, I've observed much of what we have studied this semester within this television series. And yes, I say television series. Movies are brief, and the relationships you establish with the characters are built on a quick, narrow breadth and a sudden depth, which is unlike any actual relationship you'll experience. Movie characters are like the hamburger meat of interpersonal style. They're quick to cook, initially satisfying, but barely remembered or discussed. Television series, however, especially those with 5 or more seasons, are steak. You take your time with it, you savor every moment with it because the investment was so large, you know it has to come to an end soon. It makes it so much more than worth it. I chose White Collar, and I guess you're here to see why. White Collar is about a confident Neil Caffrey, a convicted bond forger, art thief, racketeer, multilinguist, and a skilled pickpocket. Neil Caffrey was chased by the FBI for 3 years and was finally caught by Agent Peter Burke, who had been studying Caffrey's movements for about 4 years. After Neil breaks out of a supermax prison with only 4 months left to go on his sentence, Peter Burke catches him at his old girlfriend's apartment. Caffrey is then sent back to prison, but he convinced Peter Burke to let him out on a monitoring clip on the condition that he worked with the FBI to catch other dangerous white-collar criminals like himself. This unconventional arrangement becomes the premise of the show, where we learn to love both Neil and Peter. Aside from all the other mechanisms at work in the show, what I really want to draw your attention to is the relationship between Neil and Peter. Neil is the master of nonverbal communication. He uses haptics, proxemics, paralinguistics, and even artifactual communication on other individuals to get what he needs. Peter is not so persuading, but he does have a very good sense of judgment. And this back and forth throughout the series is the conflict. And throughout the series, we come to understand that the reason why Neil Caffrey made his deal with Peter was so that he could find his missing girlfriend. I mean, it is easier to search for someone when you're not trapped behind bars. However, because Caffrey has this hidden agenda, this made it very hard for Peter to trust Neil. Through all the stakeouts, they were forced to sit in a car together and practice forms of self-disclosure to pass the time. Thus, through the norm of reciprocity, the duo was able to establish a relationship with a broad depth and a long breadth. Now here's where it gets tricky. Neil fails to disclose constantly when he is on a secret mission, and Peter fails to disclose that he has some idea of Neil's intentions. So when either of them finds out that the other was being deceptive in their relationship experiences dissolution. But because of the situation they are forced to work together and rekindle their relationship over and over, each time rebuilding the relationship and trust even stronger than it was before. Basically, they are forced by circumstance to engage in relationship maintenance, and because we know both sides of the story, we trust both Peter and Neil, cat and mouse, as we develop our relationships with them. We actually go through SPT, social penetration theory, with them as we would in any normal relationship, by learning everything from Peter's favorite color, to Neil's favoritism to hats, to deeper things like why they became the lawman and the con man in the first place. We experience trust and dissolution based on failed trust over and over again in their relationship, and we take notice of the relationship maintenance that leads to relationship repair. Of course, we also watch as the relationship develops because Neil turns in his old friends in order to continue an intimate relationship with Peter, thus leaving his old life for this new honest life. The contents of my analysis also observe that even though you are considered the best at something, like deception or nonverbal communication, you are essentially still a human being, short of God, and you will still miss the elephant in the room. For example, even though Peter always felt like Caffrey was up to something, and Caffrey always believed Peter was on to him, Caffrey was still deceived by Rebecca, a love interest introduced towards the end of the series. He was deceived because he misinterpreted her nonverbal cues. My research also suggests that some form of nonverbal communication are hard to interpret because we can mask emotion with a similar emotion or with an emotion that is inseparable from our true intentions. Rebecca tricked Neil by making him believe that she loved him. Now, her love for him was only an obsession, which could be masked as love. Her intentions for Neil was to use him for a heist, but because he mistook the obsession for love, he missed the deception. That is why I chose White Collar. White Collar works almost completely with interpersonal communications, as the show also reflects. That is why I chose a television series over a movie, because the relationships and mechanisms at work are more intricate than a quick fix movie. I truly encourage you all, now that you have studied a bit about how you communicate interpersonally, to watch all of White Collar. Fall in love with the characters and how they banter, but fall in love more with the understanding of how it all works. Thank you for your time.